I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? How you doing? Oh my gosh. If I ever said that I wanted to do the lawn, just tell me not to do the lawn. Like, hire somebody to do the lawn, because allergy season is kicking it off right here. Right here. Right here. But that's okay, because we're going to keep it going. I have an amazing author on the show today, and I want to welcome her to the show. Please tell everybody who you are and how did you become an author?
Hello, everyone. I'm Marcia Keller Neal, and I am the author of Baytone's Adventures, The Adventures of Baytone, and the Wisest Pond Creature. And I became an author. This book was written, the story was written maybe 30 years ago. Yes,
What?
that's a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a time that I was inspired to write something that was mirroring my life, my own life at that point in time.
Oh.
And so Baytone was created.
Oh, okay. That's okay. We're going to go back to that. We got to revisit that because,
Okay.
but let's get back to, okay. So what led up to, I have to write this book, or, you know, your profession, your career path, maybe, or just maybe it was just somebody else's idea.
It was no one's idea but mine. At the time I was working 2 jobs and trying to take care of my little ones on my own. And of course I had some help with community and family members. And I was also going to community college, and I took a writing course. And at that time, when I took the writing course, I decided to write Baytone. It was born, and it was part of my life for the next 3 months or so.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, I wrote it all down in a little small wired binder and then typed it up on a typewriter, which we don't have now.
Yeah, I miss typewriters.
I still have the original manuscript.
Wow. Wow, that is so cool. Okay, so tell me, I mean, you said that Baytone it kind of mirrors your life in a way. Tell me about that.
Well, at that point in time, I had a dream, and that dream was to go to college and get a 4-year degree, because I'd been a very young bride, had children, and my husband passed away. And so I became a young widow as well, and I had a lot of work to do in terms of my full-time job. I had a second job that I worked at night, and then I had a third job that I worked on the weekend, making ends meet, of course. And my desire was to get a college degree so that I could just provide for my family with one job. And it was hard because I was doing all this work and didn't have a lot of time to spare. And to get away from all of that, I decided to write this story about a fish having a dream that seemed impossible, but with family, friends, community, was able to get it done.
Wow. Wow. So Baytone didn't come back into your life until 30 years later. Let me ask you a question. Why 30 years?
Well, I did send it off. I was really excited when I finished it back 30 years ago. And I did not realize that you needed a literary agent in order to promote your book to publishers. But I'd already sent it off, and I got that feedback. So it went into my box of nostalgia. And one day I thought I will just pull it out, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I pull it out. Just every now and then I want to walk down memory lane. And I pulled the book out and I read it again. And I thought, well, I've remarried since 15 years ago. I remarried.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, thank you. And I thought my husband is a big critic of writing. And I thought, well, I'll let him read it and see what he says. He finished it. He brought it to me and he said, excuse me, this is really, really good. He said, it's really good. You should do something with it. I said, well, what do you suggest? He said, I don't know, but you should do something with it. Where has it been? I said, it was in my box. He said, it needs to come out of there. And so that's when I went into researching, and now you can have a book self-published, and that's what happened.
Wow. You know, there is just so many different things, so many different years. Okay, so from when you wrote the book until you picked it back up again, did you change anything in it? And what was your character? What was the characters like then in comparison to what they would be like now?
They stay the same because the period is like a medieval period, sort of a Hobbit-like situation. And so they stay the same. It's like really old fashioned countryside, sort of. And it's like set in a pond, and the pond is near a nut and fruit and berry tree. And then there's the existing fisherman and his daughter. And then there's an old judge, of course, you know, he's the nemesis outside of the pond. There's also a nemesis in the pond. So there's a lot of plot twists going on there.
Wow, that, you know, and it's, you know, a lot of people don't understand that children's books can be complex, but yet simple. You know, okay, so the biggest thing I have is, how did you come up with the characters?
The characters, okay. Back when I was a little girl, I loved the pond, and I would go by the pond every day when I went to the grocery store for my mom. I would go by the pond and I'd stop there. I wouldn't stay too long because mom would come looking for me. But I would go to the pond and look for the pond dwellers, especially the frogs and the turtles. I would look for them. I look for the fish and see if they were out. Maybe the crayfish was out. And there was always the dragonflies, and they were so pretty, different colors and zipping around and that type of thing. And then there's the lily pad and, you know, all of that. So I love that. I also liked a lot of action, because I used to, when I went to the store, I would buy a comic book. We lived in the country, so there was no library here. I love to read, so I buy a comic book. So there's the action that you see in the book, and then the characters came from that pond.
That is so cool. I mean, you know, down here you can't do that. You can't hang around a pond. You can't, because there's the snake that is really bad. Yeah,
Well,
the water moccasin, because I'm in Florida, so the water moccasin, very aggressive snakes. Yeah, that might be your next character. Are you going to be writing another one?
Yes, this book has a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end, and I've already had requests from some of the readers to what happens to Baytone, what happened to him, and what goes on next, and that type thing. And so the sequel is 3/4 of the way finished, and hopefully we'll see that out soon.
Awesome. And the illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get those? Did you do that yourself?
Yes, I did. I wanted to make sure that these characters looked the way I wanted them to look. At the same time, there are blank pages in the book, and that's done purposefully so that children can see what they can do with drawing the character that they see in the book, not necessarily the actual illustration. You don't need to copy the illustration, but draw it the way you see it, because I'm also an artist. And I want children to have the opportunity to tap into their skills early in life. And if they have that skill, then go for it. Go for it.
Wow. Well, you know, I've never seen a children's book. Now, so let me go back a little bit. Are the pages that are blank next to the pages inside the book, or at the end of the book?
No, they're weeded all the way through the book.
That is so cool. I wish that I had books like that when I was a kid. I would have been drawing all over. My mom wouldn't let me draw. I would draw in my books anyway. It didn't matter. I'm the king of stick figures, but okay, never mind. But yeah, that is wonderful. I mean, okay, so you came up with that idea 30 years ago or today?
Now, that was today's idea.
Ah.
When the book being published, I thought, well, you know, a child likes to see how they can illustrate, because once they get into it, they want to do something too and be involved. So this book keeps that child involved.
Wow. So, okay, so what age group are we looking at?
Like I said, it's a chapter read for parents that want to read to their small children. But I think that this will take, you know, once a child becomes 6 years old, they're reading and they want to sit down and read something. But because this is a chapter read, it's very, very involved and gets you involved. I don't want people to become tired, you know, so parents can still read it. But I've had a child up to the age of 10 sit down and read the book. It doesn't take them long because it's not that many chapters. It is a chapter read. It's about 12 chapters, but it's exciting.
Wow.
It's exciting. It's very adventurous. Baytone gets into a lot of trouble, but he still does what he's supposed to do because he has good guidance from his sister and his sidekick.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's so cute. I mean, I love the illustrations and I definitely love it. The Adventures of Baytone. I mean, wow. Wow. And for it to be so long ago that you did this, when the change happened, where we now can go ahead and have ourselves to, self-publishing. But back in that time, you couldn't do it. Now that you picked it back up, what
Mhm.
was the biggest difference that you saw now that you have control over your book, your life, your writings?
The big difference is you have publishers. You have to research the publishers, of course, and make sure that they are in line with what your vision might be. And make sure that you all are all on the same page when you're going through negotiations and that type thing. But it's easier. It's easier to do. Um, like I said, you have to have a literary agent, and you still do. But self-publishing, you do not have to have a literary agent. You do need a lawyer, though, to talk through the contract and that type of thing. But it's much easier. And to be a freelance writer that wants their information published, I feel like the world has opened.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Definitely, definitely. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Have we forgotten anything today?
I think that we have touched base on everything. It's just I feel like that there's been a lot of good reviews from the children themselves. They really like the story, and I would just suggest that parents go out and get it. I have actually handed it out to a few friends that have small children, and they immediately come back and say, "We are loving Baytone. We are just loving it. We can't wait till tonight so we can read it some more."
Aw. That is so cool. That is so cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to have all that information for Marcia Keller Neal's book. It's The Adventures of Baytone. You can get that on Amazon. Again, the link is in the description box below so that it's easy for you guys to go ahead and find that for yourselves. And if you have young children or if you just like children's books, like me, then go ahead and go get it because I do. I love it. It just it gives you the inspiration. It makes you feel young again, guys, and your inspiration and your imagination just goes wild. And who doesn't want that? I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. And until next time, guys, bye.